Hello everyone, and welcome to the NARSA weekly update for the week of Monday, January the 18th, 2021. I'm Gary Gillen and I'm your host for this week's edition, and I wanted to start off with a little bit of an acknowledgement to something that I'd said on our first podcast back in December. You might remember I said we will try to have the pods around the 2 to 3 minute mark so that we're not imposing too much on your day, and I genuinely meant it at the time. Honestly, I did. And then they just got longer and longer and longer with each one. Whoops. To be honest, I genuinely didn't readily quantify just how much work we have on the go right now that's communication worthy in terms of all the things that are connected with NARSA and all the happenings in and around the club. And I'm kind of pleased about that in a sense, and happy to be able to share that type and style of information. I imagine at some point it will plateau and we'll have shared a whole bunch of information, and then we can get back to just, general bits and pieces that will be of topical interest as we move forward. However, for now, we will see how it goes. I don't anticipate this one will be as long as last week's, but you never know. With that said, I'll go into the games segment from last week. Last week, again, saw us play just one game against a team who are 47 points behind us in the league, and we managed to huff and puff our way to a 1-1 draw at Fir Park yesterday morning against then bottom of the league, Motherwell. With the way that Rangers have been approaching games over the last wee while, the Aberdeen game and the Motherwell game, and I know Steven Gerrard talked about it on his post-match interview, playing a portion of a game isn't a very solid strategy to winning championships. And to this end, what I did yesterday was I messaged my boss and asked if it was okay if I could just produce stuff for my job in the second half of the week. I'll still be physically present for the first half. I'll still kind of be there as if I am working, but she can't expect anything from me specifically in the first half, and she'll just get what she gets in the second half. I still need and want to be paid for the full week, but just producing in the second half. I'm still waiting on her reply. She's probably thinking about it right now, and I would imagine she'll say that's okay. Man, oh man, play a full game, Rangers, and see how much destruction we can impart upon the rest of the league. All that said, it did result in our 15-game winning streak ending at Fir Park, and our lead at the table is still 21 points over that mob who are not so quietly imploding in the East End. However, it's not all doom and gloom, I would suggest, and I think if you think back to the reaction that we all had when we dropped points to Livingston at the beginning of the season, that was a disaster. And it felt like a disaster. Obviously it wasn't a disaster, and the points dropped against Hibs wasn't quite as vicious as a reaction to the Livingston dropped points, but we were still pretty upset because we want to win the league so much this season. Yesterday's, I didn't feel the same sort of reaction. It was a bit disappointing, a little bit of a, come on man, I got up at 4:45 a.m. to watch this. I'm sitting here under restrictions on my own. I can't even celebrate it or even enjoy it with my friends and family here. And then we get that sort of showing, especially in the first half. However, it's the first time we've dropped points since September. And if anyone had said over the course of the season that we would have 15 game runs, we would have a 21 point lead, we would have won 21 games and drawn 3 at this point, we would have taken it. Absolutely, we would have. So we're still unbeaten, and that makes me feel a wee bit better than being so dejected at dropping a couple of points to the bottom team. This week, we get one final breather in midweek, which I'm not 100% sure actually helps Rangers, or this current Rangers team anyway. However, that's what we've got, and we prepare for our next game this coming Saturday, January 23rd, at home to Ross County at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. The last time we played County at home in the league was early October, and we ran out 2-0 winners with goals from our captain Marvel James Tavernier and a late one from Brandon Barker. I don't know about you, but I would definitely take the same result again this coming Saturday. Points per game, I hear you ask. No one ever asks me that, by the way, but I just like I just like saying that. Rangers, we now have 2.75 points per game, which is down 0.08 points from last week, and that other mob has 2.14 points per game, down 0.06 for the second week in a row. So their form is just what we need to see at this crucial stage of the season. From a Rangers TV perspective, we are working hard in the background to organise the payment to Rangers TV for the first half of the season. Our NARSA Secretary Treasurer Sandra Hawthorne will have been in touch with your club to discuss the payment structure that you would like to employ for this season, and if you haven't done so yet, please make sure you do get back to her and figure out how best we can do that so we can get the payment off to Rangers TV. They've been very patient with us under these extreme conditions this year, and we want to make sure that they get paid for the services they have provided. And again, just another plug for the RTV vouchers. If you are interested in finding out a bit more about them or need any more information, please by all means reach out to me and I can give you my boilerplate response, and then we can make it more specific to the nuances of your particular club. More than happy to help with that and make sure that none of your members are missing out. Convention update, I'm afraid there's nothing significant again for this week in terms of anything that we can communicate. However, we are working hard in the background to formalise the destination and location for our 150th anniversary convention. And we will be in a position, hopefully, to announce this, I'm hoping by the end of the month or early February, something like that, if we can. We are in the final stages. We have the contract. We are tweaking the contract. The person we're dealing with at the property was on a conference, actually physically travelled to a conference last week, so didn't get much of her time and attention in terms of the questions we were asking and some of the changes that we were trying to get represented on the contract. So we will see what this week brings, and if we get some movement on that, we're very close. If we get some movement on that, then we'll get our communications organised and let everybody know as quickly as we can. From another business perspective on NARSA, just another reminder, we have a general meeting for this Saturday after the Ross County game, January 23rd. It will be commencing sharp at noon Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be on a conference call, and as long as you're a member in good standing of your NARSA club, you're more than welcome to attend. We also have a NARSA executive meeting this coming Wednesday, the first one of 2021, where we will prep for Saturday's meeting and work through our general regular business as well. Just from a logistics perspective, for those that don't know, we typically try to have a NARSA executive meeting every second month to keep things ticking along. The last one would have been November, but we connected over email and agreed that there was nothing material to get together to talk about, as things were still in a state of flux in terms of where things stood with the NARSA 2021 convention, what the COVID restrictions were, how RTV were performing and our finances, etc. So this is the first one for a wee while, and since September obviously, and we're looking forward to getting together and seeing where we go from there. The feature segment for this week, we talked last week just at the end of the update that both Brian Campbell, NARSA VP, and myself had a meeting set up on Wednesday past with the folks from Kilts for You. We did indeed have that meeting. There was a bit of a false start, I have to say, on Wednesday, where the meeting didn't quite happen, and we did manage to connect with both Ian and Lee Carrollton on Friday morning, who took us through their journey for Kilts for You to get to where they're at right now with the club, which was, I have to say, a very fascinating, interesting and entertaining story. And as such, I invited them to come on and do a bit of an interview with us at some point in the future to talk about that journey and talk about the opportunities that presented themselves in the journey and some of the acts that were taken to get them to the spot that they're in right now. And what I can say is that these guys are season ticket holders at Ibrox. They are big blue noses, and they were at pains to make sure that Brian and I knew that very early in the conversation, which was great. You can't help but smile when you deal with people like that. Just to be clear, I'm as big a blue nose as you think you are, and I love that. So They took us through some of the existing product set that they have, and one of the main things being the basis of that being the commissioned plaid that they have designed, and then the accompanying bits and pieces of the sporran, the socks, the ski and do, kilt pins, hip flasks, ties, bow ties, etc. They also showed a tremendous brogue shoe that they have, which they're hoping to be able to be in a position to launch at some point in the future. I don't know that they are readily available right now, but they look amazing. They are blue, they have the Rangers plaid on them as well, and I am definitely going to try and get myself a pair of them and see what sort of looks I get when I'm walking up and down the office when it eventually opens back up again. That they look tremendous. All the stuff looks really, really good quality. And one main thing that struck me was the passion that both Ian and Lee are showing, both for their products and for the opportunity to help Rangers and move this partnership forward and have something in place that's appropriate for all parties involved. And not to divulge any confidential information on the deal, because we actually don't know too much about it. But what I do know is that it is most definitely, structured wholly differently, the polar opposite of anything that was structured in the Sports Direct era. It's appropriately balanced in a way that Rangers and themselves will most certainly benefit from it, and that's all we can ask for in terms of our commercial partnerships that we have with the organisation. So here's hoping that we will get a wee bit more information from both Ian and Lee as we move forward. The next steps, we did share some ideas in terms of distribution channels in North America and delivery channels that they could potentially research, and we're going to get back around the virtual table with them at some point in the future once they've had a chance to digest the potential relationship going forward and how we can mutually help each other. So more to follow when we have a chance to meet with them again. We don't have anything planned right now, but hopefully that will be some point over the coming weeks or month or so, something like that. Bit of a reminder, just on the February 7th at noon Eastern Standard Time session that we're going to be having with the Rangers soccer schools in Mygers, where we'll have Gary Gibson, Ian Greer, Natalie Nairn from Rangers Football Club coming to help us walk and talk us through the some of the club operations and the endeavours and projects that they're involved in. And it's a great opportunity for us to chat with people who actually work for the club and get to see how and where we can collectively and individually help push things forward for the club as well. And specific to the Mygers part, as I mentioned earlier, we have the NARSA executive meeting this coming Wednesday night, and we will discuss the best and most inclusive way to try and draw some of the free Mygers memberships that the club has very graciously offered to us and get them out prior to the February 7th meeting that we're having. So we'll be in touch about that more towards the tail end of this week, or maybe even at the weekly update on Monday the 25th. We'll see quite how much progress we make on that. I wanted also just to talk a little bit about communications, and not so much the communications subcommittee that we have set up, but just some of the communications endeavours that we either get engaged in, get asked to support, or get asked to actually actively contribute to. And if you missed some of our social media communication or any of our social media communication last week that we distributed, you will have missed the fact that our VP, Brian Campbell, who was back home, I had mentioned he had kindly organised the wreath to be laid at the John Gregg stand for the Ibrox disaster memorial on the 2nd of January. During the trip, he also had an opportunity to be interviewed by Alex Ray and Mark Haitley when in their endeavours as they start up their new podcast that they're doing on the 1010 Podcasts platform. And in our communication last week, they shared a snippet of what the interview was, and it was a wee bit of an overview of how the NARSA convention has evolved and how we have it, a bit of a tried and tested model now, and their comments, both Mark and Alex's comments, weighed in on what Brian was explaining in terms of their experience with it, and it was a tremendous insight to that. And you can go to hear the whole interview and subscribe to the 1010 podcasts. And here's the kicker. There is a 1 month free subscription that you can get to 1010 podcasts. If you go in and go through the subscription process and then type in the code 1010RFC, that's TEN10RFC. And more information can be found there on 1010podcasts.com/Rangers-podcasts. That's TEN10podcasts.com/Rangers-podcasts. And for those that aren't aware, 1010 Podcasts is an endeavour that includes a friend of NARSA, Stevie Clifford, from the Four Lads Had a Dream podcast. So you can be sure of some solid Rangers content if you go and visit there and take advantage, please, of the 1 month free subscription. We do get contacted on a semi-regular basis to participate in other podcasts, either voice or video and to help collectively expand the reach of the Rangers family across the globe. And one request we received on the weekend there, actually just yesterday morning, from our NARSA friend Derek Warrington from the Melbourne City Loyal Rangers Supporters Club. Derek asked us if we could give a plug to a podcast by a fellow called Gary Nicol called Blue Heart 1872. That's Blue Heart, all one word, 1872. If you go onto YouTube and search for that, you'll find it there, and please subscribe. And it's a very entertaining pod that Gary has put together, and he's interviewed some high-profile ex-Rangers players over the recent past there, most recently Clint Hill, Zurab Kishnasvili and Shota Arveladze as well. And this week he wants to change it up a wee bit and do a fans show this coming Saturday on January 23rd at 8 p.m. UK time, which would be 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are interested in checking that out and participating in Gary's pod on the weekend, please go on the YouTube site, give them a follow and message them there, or you can also find them on Facebook as well, and you can message them or him directly there as well and get the details on how best to participate in that. And if anybody else to this point needs a hand in plugging their shows, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll do what we can. We have a fairly wide reach. We were very fortunate just last week to cross over the 10,000 followers on Twitter threshold. Our social media junkie Andy Carey was very pleased to tell us last week, and we're in the process of trying to figure out how best to support a couple of recent asks that we had, one from the True Blues Loyal and another from the Rangers Rabble. You may be familiar with them. Both of those fellas have got in touch and asked if we would be interested in helping. And it really depends on what people need. If they need someone to talk about NARSA, the business of NARSA, the communication and connections with the club and things like that, I or a number of us could do that and would be absolutely happy to do that for anyone. If you need to talk football immediately after a match, admittedly that is not my forte at all. I'm a bit too emotional, a little bit distracted, and I'm most definitely not a football expert or pundit in any way, but we do have a wide reach here at NARSA, and we'd be happy to help put you in touch with other people that might be a better fit for that sort of thing. So please, by all means, get in touch. We're happy to do what we can. On the communications front, again, we are still canvassing clubs for representation to be provided on an interview to be conducted on the club history of the club, and thank you to everyone who's replied to date. And if you haven't yet, please do get in touch. And I just want to be super clear about something. If you are a club, or as a club, are just have no interest in being interviewed, talking on the phone or talking in general about this, I completely understand 100% is not for everyone, and we're certainly not going to force anyone to do it. But perhaps you could maybe think about submitting your history in writing, and we can at the very least read it out for you. I'm sure there would still be education and huge entertainment value in that. And you might remember back, I can't even remember, a number of years back, where RTV had did a bunch of plugs for our clubs here in North America. So if you could even just blow the dust off that, provide any updates to that, and shoot it over to me at rangersSCC@hotmail.com. That's 2 S's and 2 C's. Then I can certainly add that to the bank. We can get that recorded and read out on your behalf. more than happy to do that. And finally, on the communications front, if anyone out there has a question, a comment, a query, a concern at all in and around NARSA and what we do, please don't hesitate to reach out. There might be something you've always wanted to ask, you've never quite got a chance at an annual general meeting, something that's just flown into your brain just now and you thought it would be a good idea to ask. By all means, please contact me by the email that I just gave you, or contact us via any of our social media platforms, either Instagram even, Facebook or Twitter, and we'll definitely answer it. And if you think it's something you'd like to have read out and answered on the weekly update, we're more than happy to do that as well. So anything at all, and we'll be happy to answer it as long as it's clean, I guess. So, in closing, just to set the scene for what's happening this week, further to last week's benevolence update on the Sammy Cox Memorial Garden, we have been in close contact and communication with Grant McLean and his dedicated team, and we have sent out the details to all the NARSA club presidents and secretaries to see if they can support the effort in any way by taking a commemorative scribed brick or any other form of support that they can lend to the effort. And if you need any further information about this, you can reach out to Grant directly at sammycoxmemorial@hotmail.com. That's sammycoxmemorial@hotmail.com. And Grant is very, very good about getting back to us super quick, and I'm sure he would be the absolute same for anyone else who gets in touch with him. When we get ourselves settled, we'll also pop information up about this on our website over the next wee while, once our webmaster, Mr. Chris Lovett, formerly of the San Francisco parish and now of the Seattle parish, having just relocated just this last week. So Chris will need a wee bit of time to get settled, and then we'll try and get the website updated with information on this as well. And congratulations to Chris and Katie on their recent move there. I'm sure it's going to be a success up there, and we might see some NARSA presence in Seattle once again, which would be fantastic. This week is quite busy with Rangers and NARSA meetings. Both Brian Campbell and myself have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow afternoon, our time, which is going to be, I believe, 9 p.m. UK time, with both Graham Clark and Chris Boyd from 5 Stars to discuss next steps on a variety of projects that are in the works for us. So, like we did with the Kilts for You update, we will certainly do the exact same again and provide an update on how that went at next week's update meeting and see where it goes. For those that don't know, we did sign a partnership agreement with 5 Stars last year before they hit the big time and got their official partnership with Rangers Football Club. And I have to say though, I'm very confident that their newfound fame and absolute stature within the Rangers community hasn't dampened their enthusiasm to continue to grow our partnership directly with each other and engage in projects that will be mutually beneficial for ourselves and, more importantly, the club as well. So if you haven't done so, you should check out the 5 Stars app on your smart device. If you search 5 Stars Events, that's 5, the number 5, Stars Events in your particular app store, you should be able to find them there. And there is a wealth, an absolute ton of great content in there that I'm sure you'll enjoy. There's also a members area that you can subscribe to as well. Some of the competitions these guys are running are just incredible in terms of the things that you can win as well. Money can't buy sorts of gifts as well. So please, by all means, go take a wee peek at that. And you can also go and look at some of the other products that they do if you visit rangerslegendsgin.com, rangerslegendsgin.com, or give them a follow on Facebook or Twitter at 5 Stars Limited. They're probably on Instagram too, and if you know what Instagram is, then you'll be able to find them there as well. So, in closing, Bears and Bearettes, here's hoping for another 3 points to get back on the winning trail against Ross County this coming Saturday, as our quest for 55 comes to round number 25. and we only have 14 games to go, Bears, and we're really closing in on it now. Thank you very, very much for taking the time to listen, and please do share this with anybody that you think might enjoy it. Take care. All the very best. Cheerio.